The PLL season is here. I am so excited for it. I love lacrosse. I love the PLL, and this is going to be a phenomenal season. First off, if you don't know anything about lacrosse, if you don't understand lacrosse, if you just are confused on the game, you've never experienced it, it's new to you, please give it a chance this summer. You will not regret it. It is one of the best games out there. It is the best run league, the best product league in all of sports. Just does not get the recognition it deserves. I think there's a huge chance for it to take a massive step up this season, and I cannot wait for it. It is going to be a great year and a great time. Week 1 starts tomorrow. For those who are new and don't necessarily understand the PLL, it is an 8-team league featuring the Redwoods Lacrosse Club, Atlas, the Cannons, Chaos, Archers, Water Dog, Chrome, Redwoods. All really dope names, dope jerseys. Unlike most leagues, unlike most press leagues, it has a traveling model. Each week, the teams travel to a new city. They all play. So you go to a city, the city near you. Like I go to Baltimore every year. That's usually the closest that they have during the summer when I'm not in school. I go to Baltimore every year, and I'm able to see every single team and every single player play. This weekend, Albany, New York, to kick off the season. They just wrapped up training camp. Let's not waste any more time. Let's dive into each of the matchups, starting with the Redwoods versus Atlas, 1 p.m. Saturday on ABC. Redwoods versus Atlas. And you want to talk about a game that, to start off with, this is a prime example of how much parity and how close each of these teams are to each other. In this game, we're going to see probably the two best face-off guys on planet Earth in Trevor Baptiste for Atlas and TD Erlin for the Redwoods. These are two, if not the best face-off guys in the entire league, and they will be going at it. Last season, they went at it twice. I believe, I'm going to look right now, Trevor got the best of them the second time. I believe TD got the best of them the first time. But but these two are two of the best, if not the two best in the world, like I said. And that's not even the only battle we're going to have. Now we're going to look let's look at the attack battle for Atlas and the defensive battle for the Redwoods. The Redwoods anchored by Eddie Glazner, and yes, Trevor is the dude for the wings. Yes, and he's better at field lacrosse than he is box lacrosse. Eddie Glazner and Garrett Eppel for the Redwoods, they highlight that defense, and then you have the duo of Jeff Teat and Chris Gray, who in my opinion are the two best is the best attack duo in the entire PLL. And now you're going to pair them up once again this season. They had a phenomenal year last year. I feel like Chris Gray got a little hosed on that Rookie of the Year. They gave it to Logan Wisnauskas of the Chrome. And you know what? Not a bad choice. He had a phenomenal season. I don't know where Ella is. I don't know. I did it by myself. I just woke up this morning. I'm like, I'm doing a PLL show. Those are the best shows. When you wake up and you just go after it. But let's dive into this matchup a little bit. So it's going to be very interesting. Obviously, Garrett Eppel's the guy. Not Garrett Eppel. Jeff Teets, he's the initiator. He creates the offense, and he scores a lot too. He doesn't just not just a feeder, but he creates the offense for him. Chris Gray has really taken on a role to be a finisher, finding space, to get open for Jeff Teet, who is more of a ball dominant player, and he really took advantage of that role last season, having a phenomenal rookie season. I think they start off with a bang. I think I saw a prop line on DraftKings, Chris Gray over 3.5 points. I am hammering the over on points for Chris Gray. Jeff Teat, I would look at, and him also 4-point game, 2 goals, 2 assists potentially. This Atlas offense is going to be on fire from the get-go. Obviously, especially because, there's some questions and struggles with the Redwoods goalie situation, whether it's Timmy Trauner or Jack Kelly. I believe it's going to be Jack Kelly. Obviously Jack Kelly's not what he used to be. He's kind of a shell of himself. And Timmy Trauner, he's been trending down since his phenomenal season in year number 1 back in 2019. But overall, I'm going to give the advantage on the attack versus defense battle to Atlas just because of that Chris Gray and Jeff Teat duo. Looking at the midfield, again, I'm going to have to go Atlas. Romar Dennis is an absolute freak of nature athletically. He is an absolute animal. It was on full display in the championship series. He has a complete bag full of so many different tricks and trades, an absolute stud, and I cannot wait to see him on full display. And you pair him up with Brian Costable, who I think is one of the most underappreciated players in the entire PLL, a guy who can play, who is absolutely lethal out of the box for Atlas. He is going to be a stud once again for them this year. And it is going to be, I believe, the midfield is going to be on full display again this season and again on Saturday against the Redwoods. I give them the advantage. Although the Redwoods, don't sleep on them. I don't want to just ignore the Redwoods and what they're capable of, because they also have a very, very insane midfield rotation with Miles Jones, obviously, and Sergio Perkovic. Very dynamic on both sides of the ball. I just think, listen, the Atlas to me are the best team in the entire league. They're going to come out with a bang. They're going to come out and show why I believe that they are the best team in the league. But you know that midfield is very, very good, led by Charlie Bertrand, Miles Jones, Jules Henningberg, all just to name a few. And then you also have Sergio Perkovic, another guy who's an absolute animal. And then the attack unit. Let's go to the attack versus defense unit. On the other side of the ball, the attack unit for the Redwoods versus the defensive unit for Atlas. This is where I think the Redwoods might have the advantage, because that duo of Rob Pennell and Ryder Garnsey is also very, very good. I saw Paul Rabel call Rob Pennell the Patrick Mahomes of lacrosse, and I can completely see it and understand why. Top 5 in assists, top 5 in goals of all time, and top 5 in points of all time. This has been one of the best, if not the best, attackman of all time. I wouldn't say the best necessarily. I'm sorry. I wouldn't say the best attackman of all time, but he is definitely up there as one of the best attackmen of all time. So but this Atlas defense, I mean, you talk about Michael Rexroad, a guy who just led the entire league in CTOs a few years ago. Tucker Durkin, has been an anchor on defenses throughout his entire career, whether it's with Team USA, in the MLL, in the PLL, in college. And then you bring in the number 1 overall pick, the best defender in college lacrosse a season ago from Cornell in Gavin Adler. This defense is no joke. And the more I talk about it, the more I'm going to give the edge to Atlas. And then now let's go over to the special teams units. Timmy Troutner and Jack Kelly versus I believe it's going to be Jack Kelly. So we'll go Jack Kelly versus Jack Kuncannon. And then we have Trevor Baptiste versus TD Erlin. The special teams battle has got to go to the Atlas. I think the Atlas overall as a team are just slightly more complete, slightly better in every aspect than the Redwoods are. And I think we are going to see that as a prime example tomorrow. So give me Atlas to win the game. I say by a score of 15-12. And they move to 1-0 on the young season. I hate you. I really hate you. I really hate you. But let's move over to the next game, Cannons versus Archers. And this is a game that kind of hurts my heart because I love the Cannons. I love Brian Holman and all he has done so far for the Cannons. I love what he did with Utah, but I don't think the Cannons are going to have a great year. Going 1-9 last year, I think that this is going to be their first step in a complete rebuild. And the Archers, I talk about a little bit. They're a team I'm very, very high on. Offensively, I think the Archers are going to explode early. That Mac O'Keefe and Grant Ament duo is back. And then defensively, I think the Archers are going to have a very, very good time holding down that attack unit. But it's going to be interesting how Marcus Holman does against his former team. We know he spent the first 4 seasons of the PLL with Will Manny as an Archer, but the Archers took a step in the other direction this season. They wanted to focus more on what they had with Grant Ament and what they were able to see if they can get out of the pairing of the Penn State boys of him and Mac O'Keefe. But overall, I think that the Archers are going to have complete control of this game from the first whistle in almost every aspect of the game. But I'm very interested to see, as a faceoff guy who loves faceoff guys, I'm very interested to see how Mike Sisselberger does for the Archers in his first season. He was one of, if not the best faceoff guy in his time in college at Lehigh. But he's going to be going against Stephen Kelly, who's been a career journeyman across the MLL and the PLL. So it's going to be very fun to see how he does matched up against Mike Sisselberger. So what's going to happen there? I'm going to actually give the edge to Stephen Kelly. I really think Stephen Kelly, people always talk. I've heard multiple people say Stephen Kelly has the quickest hands in the PLL, but he has some trouble dealing with counters and stuff. And that's where we see guys like Mike Sisselberger. That's where he's going to have to make his money on Saturday. Or they play Sunday. They play Saturday. On Saturday against Stephen Kelly, it's going to be that second move, what he does to slow down that first step of Stephen Kelly off the clamp. So that's going to be a very interesting battle. But the goalie battle, it's a little tough, to kind of determine on who you give the edge to in this one, in this goalie battle between Brett Dobson for the Archers Lacrosse Club. I don't know too much about this goalie battle, honestly. I need to pay more attention to goalies. That's the one thing I lack if I'm going to be getting, as I get into, talking about the PLL more, is paying attention to these goalies more. And he's going up against Ada Gittleman, another former Archer. So what is Gittleman going to be able to do against his former team? I just think that defense has too many holes in it. I really do. I think that Archer's offense is going to expose that defense in a way. And I think the Archers are going to win a 17-12 game against the Cannons. But let's head over to the rematch of the championship game from a year ago. The Water Dogs against the Chaos. We saw this in the championship, like I said, last season. The Water Dogs ended up being the PLL champions in their against the defending champions in the Chaos. The Chaos, they're a team we've seen struggle early on in the regular seasons since the PLL came around, except for the first year, actually really good in the regular season. But since the PLL's inaugural season, we've seen them struggle a couple times in the regular season, including the bubble where they didn't win a game. But obviously with the bubble format, they were able to make the postseason. And for the Water Dogs, coming off that PLL championship, my biggest question for them is, can that defense hold the way it did down the stretch last season? And against this Chaos team, they're gonna have a battle, but it's gonna be a battle that's in their favor. Obviously, with the NLL, the Indoor Lacrosse League, having their championship series kick off this weekend, guys like Josh Byrne and Dane Smith and Chris Cloutier are gonna be out and aren't gonna be able to play. So it's going to be very interesting on what we see in this matchup. I do think the Water Dogs win a game that they completely control. I really do think the Water Dogs, I think the Chaos are going to run into trouble early in the season. But when you have Blaze Reardon in between the pipes, anything can happen. This game, I believe, will be on the lower side, but I am going to say it's going to be 13-8 for the Water Puppies to come out on top and take the victory and move to 1-0 on their quest to defend their championship from last season. And now we switch over to the Chrome and the Whip Snakes, another very, very highly contested matchup. A matchup, a team I'm very high on, a team I'm a little bit lower on than most people. And I do think that the Chrome will also win this game. I love the Chrome this season. They just won the championship series this winter in Washington, D.C., obviously beating the team that I thought was the best team in the championship series in Atlas. But, overall, they did win a very, very tight game in that one. The Chrome come into this game, obviously, off that adding, some pieces. But the thing about the Chrome, and this is why I say them and the Atlas are the two best teams in the league. I look at these rosters and I can't find many holes in them. I cannot find many holes in them compared to other teams. And now we look at, obviously, this attack unit's probably where they're weakest, but they have Logan Wisnowskis, the guy who just won the Rookie of the Year. Cross Ferrara, a guy who just won a national championship at Salisbury last weekend. So there is a little bit of questions, obviously, out of the midfield unit. Colin Heacock, Justin Anderson, a UNC guy who I am so excited for. This team, obviously, it's hard to find weaknesses in this team, although I believe Heacock is going to he might play attack this week. No, he won't. And then let's look at their D middies. Will Haas, Mike Mess, Ryan Tarafenko, who I think is one of the best D middies in the entire league. JT Giles Harris was one of the best statistical close defenders last year. This team has so little holes in them, and I just think that they're so complete, and we saw it on display in the championship series. They can play quick, and the quickness of this game, especially now with that 32-second shot clock, is going to be very, very vital to team success. So I think the quickness of the Chrome is going to help lead them to victory over the Whip Snakes, especially with Zed Williams out. The Whip Snakes, they have a little bit of trouble. Obviously, last year was their first year that they didn't make it to the championship, but back-to-back championships the first two seasons. Now we head into what can they do without seeing a championship appearance. It's going to be very interesting what they have. They still have Matt Rambo, who obviously is one of the best attackmen in the entire PLL, but I just don't think this is the same team it was in year 1, 2, and part of 3. I just don't think this is necessarily the same team, and I think the Chrome take the win in week number 1. Let's look at my best bets. Let's look at my PLL best bets, and we'll start off little two-leg parlay, a little two-teamer. I have Atlas money line and the Water Dogs money line. These are my two most confident plays. Like I said, I think the Atlas are the best team in the entire PLL, and I think this depleted Chaos roster will lead a Water Dogs victory. I'll get it at plus 104, and I will put a unit and a half on it. I love this play, especially from a betting angle. It's so hard. These lines are so tight, and with overtime so common, and so many one-goal games in the PLL, and how tight these teams are, it's hard. So I just think, what? Two most confident teams to win this weekend are the Water Dogs and Atlas. So I'm going to take them, parlay them up, two-teamer, Atlas, Water Dogs, money lines, plus 104 for a unit and a half. And my second best bet, my underdog of the weekend, I have the Chrome money line at plus 105. Like I said, I am so excited. I think the sky's the limit for this team. I think this team can definitely win the championship, and I think they're going to get on the Whipsnakes. I do think they're going to pull off the upset against the Whipsnakes in week 1, a team that I'm just a little bit lower on than most people. This Chrome team plays fast. I think their speed is going to kill the Whipsnakes, especially off the faceoff without Joe Nardella. No Joe Nardella this week due to injury. So how are we going to see P. LaSalle transition into the PLL? I think Connor Farrell gets the best of them, and I think he helps lead the Chrome to victory. And I think that the Chrome cast is plus 105. I'm laying 2 units on it. Those are my 2 best bets of the week. Those are my predictions for the week. I will be back later this week with full breakdown and a full review of week 1 and then a preview of week 2. I will not be able to watch the games on time as I do work, but I will watch them in time to make a podcast about it. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you follow or subscribe wherever you're watching this, as we are going to be covering the PLL all season long. And I will see you guys next time. Enjoy opening weekend. Enjoy the PLL.